Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 5 of the card making countdown, where I'm sharing a brand new Cricut card making project with you every day for 14 days. Today's project is a card that's really a little bit special because it moves. It starts out looking like an ordinary gatefold with the opening down the middle, but as the sides are opened up, it pulls apart an aperture in the middle of the card to reveal a hidden image or photograph or message, whatever you want to put in there. I've made a blank template for you, and in this video I'll show how you can fully customize it with your own pattern papers, pictures, photos, or whatever it is that you want to use to make this card truly your own. Let's get started. This project is part of the 2026 Card Making Countdown. Download the cut files for free for the first 24 hours after this video goes live using the links in the video description or by visiting craftwithsarah.com/cards26. After 24 hours, the cut files for this project can be purchased from craftwithsarah.com/cards26 files. Or get the entire card making countdown plus loads of extra bonus files from craftwithsarah.com/cards26 bundle. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into your cutting machine software. For instructions on how to do this, visit craftwithsarah.com/help and choose Cricut, Silhouette or Scan and Cut. Within there are dedicated help guides on topics such as how to upload SVGs, how to modify them to make custom projects, framing tips, and how to cut cardstock with your type of machine. If you have any questions, email hello@craftwithsarah.com. Now, on with today's project. To make these photo aperture cards, you'll need a good, strong craft glue. I'm using Barely Art glue, but I also like Halal. The reason I like these glues is because they don't bend or wrinkle the card like some glues can do. You'll also need some foam squares. These are important for this project because they are what allows the mechanism to have enough room to move. I'm using 2mm thick ones and 5x5mm in size. If yours are bigger, you might have to cut them down to be more like this size. If you have 3mm thick, so thicker ones, that would be fine for this project too. It just means it will be a little bit thicker to post. If you've only got 1mm thick, they will not be enough to make the mechanism move, so you would need to double them up, put one on top of the other. Because of the moving elements within this card, it's easiest to make with thinner cardstock. For the main structure pieces, I recommend card that's around about 180 GSM, which is around about 65 pounds. If it's a little bit thicker, that's okay. It's not a hard and fast rule, but don't use really thick cards. So for this one, I did it with thick card on purpose, just to show that it's not quite as easy to move. This one I've used mirror card, which is I think about 300 GSM, which is very, very strong. I think it's 110 pounds-ish. I'm not quite sure on the conversion, but it means my card is very, very bulky and it's a little hard to move. It does still work, you can see it works beautifully, but it's causing my middle bit to sort of bow outwards a little bit under the thickness of everything. And it's just not quite as smooth as it is with thinner card. This one is a thinner card that I've used, and it does work much better. So for this one, it's a smoother motion, it's easier to open and close, and it just feels a little bit nicer in the hand. If you've only got thicker cards, say it will still work, it's just not quite as effective as using the thinner card. A medium weight cardstock would probably be fine too. This one is a bit thicker than 180 GSM. This one is probably more like 210. Maybe a little bit more than that, so perhaps 80 pounds, and it works fine. But my test ones I used 180 GSM card. They were all cut in white, so I won't show it to you because it doesn't look very interesting, but that one did work the best out of everything with the lighter card. Here's the project loaded into Cricut Design Space. First, check that it's loaded in at the size that's listed in the green box on the top left of the file. That's the size of the whole design, all the pieces together. So it should be 30 inches wide and 20 inches tall. Okay, click into size here and see that mine has loaded in correctly, but if yours hasn't, change it to 30 by 20. Then click the design and ungroup the layers with the ungroup button at the top of the layers panel. Click down to that top green box and delete it. There are some layers in here that we need to change to score. First up, click this big piece on the top left. This highlights it in the layers panel and you can see we've got another group here. Click the chevron and then within here there's the blue piece at the bottom and then what looks like lots of vertical lines on top. Click to select just that vertical line layer, then in the operations menu change it to score. Click to select that whole group, so I've got both of those two layers selected, and press attach. Underneath there in the layers panel there's another group which is the matching shape for the other side. We'll do the same thing there, so open up the group, click the vertical line layer, change it to score, click to select that group and attach. Those are the only score lines we need to change. Looking through the design, the bright green pieces are designed to be cut from one type of pattern paper or scrapbook paper and the pink rectangles from a second piece. If you'd rather do it all from the same, you can change the pink pieces to green so it will all come out from the same colour. Or you can mix and match and add in different colours, it's up to you. I did them bright green and bright pink to sort of remind you when you're going through the cut process that this bit's of a pattern paper rather than solid coloured cardstock. We need to cut a circle of an image such as a photograph or a printable picture to go inside the aperture. We've got this circle shape here in red. I'm going to move it down to the bottom so we've got a little bit more space to play with. I've downloaded some mermaid inspired images from creativefabrica.com to use for my card, but you can use whatever pictures or photographs you want. Uploading a printable graphic or photograph is a little different to uploading an SVG, so let's take a look at that. Go to upload and then upload image. Drag your file in, press continue, and then on this screen you don't need to change anything, just press apply and continue. If your image has a white background that you want to remove because you want to change the colour, you can do that here, but mine has a transparent background, so I can just press apply and continue. From this screen, choose the third option, which is flat graphic, and then press continue. You don't need to change anything here, simply press upload. You may get a warning message that it's a big image and it might be a little bit slow, so bear with it. You'll probably find that your picture will load in really big, so let's size it down to something a bit more manageable to make it easier to work with. Click on the red circle and press arrange to front to bring it all the way to the front and the top of the layers panel. Then under the operations menu, change it to a guide. That changes it to a pink outline, so now we can move it over the picture so that we can see what we're doing with the size. Resize your picture so that the bit you want to see is appearing within that circle. It's really important that you only resize your picture or your photo. Do not resize the circle at all, otherwise it won't fit properly into the card. It's okay if you have parts that go off the edge of the circle like I've got here and here, because we'll cut those off shortly. I could just do it like this with the white background, but I think I want to add a coloured background in there. If you're using a photo, you probably won't need to do this step because you'll have the photo covering the whole circle. But I'm just going to quickly go in and add another image that came with this image set. I'll drop the link to this exact image set on Creative Fabrica in the written tutorial for this post. So if you want to get the same ones, you can. Let's just upload this. And upload. That is very big. Let's make that a more manageable size. And now where's it gone? Okay, so I am gonna make that so it goes over the full size of the circle. I think that looks a little bit more mermaidy, or it will once I've cut it all to size. I'm going to need to make a copy of my circle because I have two layers that I need to cut into the exact shape. If you've only got one photo or one graphic, you wouldn't need to make this copy. I'm going to click on that change it back to a basic cut, hover my mouse over it, and then if you're on a Windows computer, press the Alt key on your keyboard. If you're on a Mac, press Option, and then click. That makes a copy in exactly the same place. I'll hide one of them and also hide my treasure chest. So I've just got my scales picture and the circle. Drag around both of those and press Slice. That will cut the circle out. So I can move that, and you see I've now got the perfect circle. And then I would do the same for my treasure box. If you're using a picture that doesn't fill the whole of the circle like this one, then you would also want to copy the circle. I'm going to show you that separately in a minute so that we can see both options. But for now, let's work with the one that I'll be adding the background to. So once again, we'll slice that out and then delete the bits around the edge. And I can turn that back on. There we go. Now that's perfectly in the shape of my circle. Now I need to join these two layers together, otherwise they'll print separately on the paper. So I'll select both of them and press Flatten. And now this is one circle, so it will be printed as one, and then the Cricut will cut around the edge. If you had more like this, where your picture doesn't fill the whole background, then again we will duplicate that circle. First step, slice one of them off the edge, so we're getting rid of all of the bits around the edge of the circle. Then turn the other one back on and change it to white. And then we're going to select that white circle and the treasure chest and flatten it. Now the Cricut will cut that perfect circle out. If I hadn't have done that, if I hadn't have flattened it to the circle shape, then the Cricut would cut around the shape of the treasure box, and that's not what we want. We want it to perfectly cut the circle. It's a little bit hard to see now because there's no border, because it's white on white, but if I move it sort of over some of these, you can see it is there. All right, so I'm going to delete that one because I'm using that one. And then you can have a look at the colours of the rest of the card and change them on the screen if you want to, or you can just go ahead and cut it straight out. You might also wish to add another embellishment or topper to go on the front of the card. This is another image from that same set, and I'm going to have this so that it goes over the front of my card, so it will stick to one of the gatefold openings like this and then overlap the other one. At the moment, this would be incredibly difficult for the Cricut to cut out because it's got very thin lines here. In fact, I would say that would be impossible for the Cricut to cut, and it will just tear all of those lines and it won't work very well. If you have a similarly complex image, there's an easy way to fix that, which is to add an offset. Click your layer and go into Effects and then Offset. And let's have a look. I don't need it to be that big. We just want to make it so that it sort of joins things together and makes it easier for the Cricut to cut. So it will cut along the edge of where you can see this blue line going instead of the precise outlines of the mermaid tail. So I think probably 0.06 is fine. Press Apply. Change that to white. And then flatten it with the print and cut. And now, instead of trying to cut around all those teeny tiny bits of the image, the Cricut will cut around the white edge. And I think that's nice as well because the white around the edge will help it stand out from my pattern paper so you can see it easier. Okay, so what have we got here in terms of colours? I think I'm going to lean into the teal colours because my pattern paper is purple for the one I'm going to have on the green. So I think the teal would be nice. Let's go for a kind of light teal colour instead of the blue. And to change everything at once, you can go to Material Colours and drag and drop. So that changed all of those light bits in one go. And then for the dark blue, I'm going to go for a slightly darker teal colour. Change one of them first and then drag and drop them all. and that will fit nicely. Then I just need to remember pink is one of my pattern papers, green is another. And this is then ready to save and then to cut out. Connect to your Cricut machine in here and then press make, and that will separate out all the pieces. Got our print then cut here. If you're new to print then cut, check out the foundation learning section for this craft countdown. It's at the top of the schedule page, and you can find it in the written version of the tutorial for this particular project. Within there is a link to a separate video on how to print and cut with your Cricut machine. For your other pieces, you can change the paper size in the drop down here. When you're changing the size for your pattern paper, it's important not to rotate anything around. Otherwise, if you're using a pattern where it has a specific right and wrong way up, if I was to do that, for example, to put it up there, it means my pattern would then be the wrong way round when I go to stick this on my project, because we'll be gluing it on that way. And if I cut it that way, it means the pattern would be in that orientation and it would not look right. So all the other ones, all the solid colours can be moved about, but the pattern papers, do not rotate them. Otherwise, you might be in for a little bit of a nasty surprise. When you're happy with how everything's looking, press continue and follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut from your cardstock and your photo paper for that print and cut. Once you've got everything cut out, it's time to start putting together your photo aperture card. I've already glued some of the pieces together to make this go a little bit quicker for the video. You've got the two larger rectangles, and each of these have got a pattern paper to stick in the middle so that you've got an even amount of border around the edge of all of those. Then we've got the backing, which is the big square piece, and then there's a slightly smaller border piece which I've got in my dark teal, and then the white square, which is the message panel that you'll write your message on once your card is finished. So glue all of those one on top of the other like this, so that you end up again with nice even borders of the colour showing around. We've also got these two smaller rectangles which have the other kind of pattern paper to go in the middle. So let's glue those down now. Next we'll build up the sides. So we've got these two pieces here, two that look the same. They've got cuts in the side here and here, and then score lines down everywhere else. So this is the side that the Cricut has done the scoring on. And first up, I'm going to fold to make a valley fold along the score line that goes down the side of this flag shape piece. That means I'm folding the flag bit up towards me. If you've got a brayer tool, a bone folder, a scraper tool, a rolling pin, anything like that, go down your fold line to make it nice and crisp. There are two little score lines along here and here. These don't need to be folded. Those score lines are used as a guide later on so that we know where to put our glue up to. The next score line down here will be mountain folded, so it's the opposite way round to this one. This time we want to pull it down so that the point comes up like the top of a mountain. So it ends up kind of looking like that. And once again, go down there to get that nice and crisp. We have two pieces of the darker colour to glue on, one for each side. And this lines up along the flag bit, then there'll be the tiniest gap up to the score line. That gap is important because it gives the score line a chance to move around without having any extra weight and layers on top. Okay, so this lines up here. Get it as closely aligned with those edges of the triangle shape as you can. If you overlap, it might disrupt the mechanism once everything's put together. And then there'll be a little bit of the original colour, the lighter colour at the top and the bottom, and as I said, the tiniest gap between the edge of where that darker colour ends and where the scoreline begins. Then take one of your pieces that's this shape, and that goes in the middle here, so we're kind of having an even gap at the top and the bottom and an even gap between the scoreline there and the next scoreline. Then repeat that for the other side. Next, take the square piece with the hole in the middle. Don't confuse it with the smaller rectangular piece. We need the square one at this point. Take one of the sides and fold the flag bit inwards, and then we're going to add glue here and here up to the scoreline, but no further. Then glue this piece on so that it lines up along the score lines. Be as accurate as you can here. And we'll do the same for the other side. Glue up to the score line. And then this goes the other side here. Again, be really accurate getting that lined up. Then we're going to wait a couple of minutes for that glue to fully dry, because the next thing we want to do is turn it over, and if we do that when the glue's not completely dry, it might move about and come out of position. My glue's now dry, so let's turn this upside down so that we have this shape here. These two bits will get folded backwards like this. I'm just going to tuck that in. We can see the aperture starting to go there. So it will come back over and we'll glue it down like that. You want to make sure that you don't add any glue on the bits here, because these are the bits that move, and also anything that's going to go in the middle. So we can add glue to the top tab bits there and there, but not down this bit where we've got the score line here. So instead we'll go up to it, but not overly close, because you don't want the glue to smush out and go over that score line. So we're being a little bit careful with the glue there. And the same on the other side. And then we can add some around the circle. I'm leaving a little strip down the middle because these don't go all the way in, but it doesn't matter because we're going to be covering up the rest of it with our message panel. So I think I've probably added a bit too much glue, which I have. You can see I've still got some left that you can see here and at the bottom, but that'll be covered up at the next step. So you do not need to worry about that. Sticking that down, pull it tight so that it's coming in nicely and straight along that score line, like that. Then we've got our two guide score lines down here and here, so we can add glue up to that score line, or just before it, so that again we're allowing for the glue to smush out a little bit when we put the message panel on the back. Then stick that up to those score lines. There'll be a little gap like there. So there's a tiny gap between the score line and the message panel. Okay, now I said we weren't going to fold those score lines, but I just remembered we do need to. Because that's the front of the card. There are so many steps to remember with all these different cards from the countdown, and in true Craft with Sarah fashion, I do not have any of it written down. It's all just held in my head. So I had forgotten that these need folding, but we can do it now. Okay, so we're going to fold down these score lines and fold it upwards this way. As you're folding, The flag bit will sort of go inwards, that's okay. So we're folding kind of the line that's underneath. Down and in as accurately as you can. Like that. And then the same for the other one. It's easier that you don't hold that bit flat when you're doing this folding, otherwise it's not going to go. You need to sort of put your fingers under the flap to get it to fold. Would have been easier to do earlier, but never mind. There we go. Okay, so then that pulls it through to be our card. Next up, we can add the picture in the middle. Glue inside the circle cutout. And put your print and cut image right in there. Then take the middle bits and we're going to overlap one with the other. So one of the sides will go on top of the other one and the opposite one will go underneath. So for this one, I've got my left one appearing over the top of the right one, but then this one is underneath that one, so that when the card opens and closes, they push against each other. Don't worry that they'll come apart now as you're playing with it. That will all get fixed with our magical oval piece here. I've already glued my decorations to the top and the bottom. This is where we need the foam squares. Small sized ones like this work best. If yours are more like this size, cut them smaller because we only need a little line across the top and the bottom. The reason we need the foam squares here is because otherwise if we just glued it, there's not enough room underneath this piece for the mechanism to open and shut. I've put two bits quite close to each other on the corners to give them a little bit of extra stability there. But then you can space them out a bit further for the rest of it. Then we're going to position this in the middle. When you're doing it, try to make it so that you've got an even amount of space between each of these corners showing. That's how you'll know you've got it in the middle. So that's about the same distance on each. And it will line up along the top and the bottom of the card. And now that's in there, you can see how the aperture opens and closes when the card goes in and out, like that. All that's left now is to add these two panels to the outside. And mine isn't closing very well, and I think that's because I didn't do these folds until right at the end, but hopefully you will see my note on the screen right back at the beginning where I should have folded them, so yours will have been folded earlier and it will look a little bit neater than mine does. Then I've got my piece here I want to stick on just one of the sides. Which way round shall I do it? I could go it that way or that way. Obviously don't glue it on both sides, don't glue it here and here, then your card won't open. I think I'll glue this side. Check that my picture's the right way up, yep. And glue that there. If you've got any other decorations or embellishments, you can add them now. Then when my card is opened, ta-da! It reveals the picture inside. You'll probably find that the card doesn't quite close up. It likes to try and come undone a little bit. That's because of all of the scoring and the weight of the card we've got in there. You can make it a little bit better by going over it quite firmly with a brayer tool. That helps squidge it up a little bit, or you can try flattening it under some heavy books or something for a day or so, and that will help a bit too. It doesn't really matter too much because it will still go flat to go in an envelope so you can get it ready to post. However, if you want to hold it in place a little bit better, then here is a way to do that. To hold the card closed a little bit better for it to go in an envelope, you can make a belly band to go around the edge, which is basically a little kind of strip of card that will fold around and then slide over like a belt to hold it down. 12 by 12 card is easiest for this because then that will just work, it fits nicely. So this is a strip I cut with a paper trimmer from 12 by 12 paper. If you don't have 12 by 12, you can cut 2 strips from smaller cardstock and glue them together to make one 12 by 12 piece. So what we're gonna do, there are lots of different ways you can make this, and this might not be the best way, but it's the way I've always done it. I'm gonna hold that against my card and then pick it up, fold it around, and then pull it tight so that I can see where the overlap is. And for this card, if you're using the 12 by 12 strip like me, it is only the tiniest little overlap that you'll have. It might be easier with 2 strips that you glue together, then you'll have more that you can glue here because these are only just touching, just and just, but that will hold it down. Okay, so now I kind of know where that join is, and it's very small, so a tiniest bit of glue on there. Glue that on there. You can hold it until the glue dries or use a paper clip or something similar to hold it. This is important, and it's don't try and put this on your card until your glue is 100% completely dry, otherwise it will try to come apart. Here's one I've already done, which is dried, to show you. I actually made this one for one of my test cards. I'm hoping it still fits this one. Okay, so slide it over, and the idea is that it is a tight fit. Okay, I did that little bit off camera because that was a very tight fit. It's because for me, I messed up those folds and didn't do them till right at the end, so my bits aren't quite meeting in the middle, so I think my card's a little bit bigger than it's supposed to be, but this still goes on, and then you can slide it down wherever you want it to go. You can decorate it or leave it plain, and it's just a nice way to hold that card so we make sure that it's flat for when it goes in the envelope. And you can bring it down as much as you like. I kind of like that there because then you can still see the main bit of my picture. Definitely think I need some gemstones or something along there. Then when your recipient takes this out of the envelope, they would slide that off to open up the card. If you wanted, you could always write some instructions on the back and slide this off the card to reveal what's inside, something like that, or just leave it as something for them to work out themselves. I think because the card is so thick and it looks like it opens, it is kind of intuitive that you would slide this off. There we have it, our photo aperture card is all finished. I really like these cards because they can be themed so differently. Here's another one I did with a bee design. It says be happy in there in the middle. And of course it would be lovely for photographs in the middle too, rather than pictures and words like I've done. Oh, closed that the wrong way, there we go. So that's my 2 cards done, that's our project done, and that's it for today's countdown post. I hope that you enjoyed this video for day 5 of the card making countdown. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and card making fun. I hope to see you again tomorrow for day 6 of the countdown, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!